If you're a Shopify brand, you probably know that Meta ads is the best way to scale your business, but it's quite confusing. And with all the settings and updates and changes that come with the Meta Ads Manager, in this video, I'm going to break down as of January 8th, 2025, how we at TVG, my growth marketing agency, goes about setting up campaigns for our e-commerce clients. My name is Patrick O'Driscoll. I'm the co-founder and CEO at TVG, the visionary group where we help fuel e-commerce brand growth. Our team has managed over $10 million of ad spend, generated tens of millions in revenue for Shopify brands through paid advertising and email marketing. So in this video, I'm going to break down exactly what we do when we work with a client. This is great for the basics. And if you are a brand that's kind of in the 0 to 100K a month range, this is a great structure and just a great process to follow to set up your campaigns and start getting purchases ASAP. So I'm going to walk through the Meta Ads Manager. It's going to be juicy. It's going to be tactical. So make sure to sit back, relax, get that notepad ready. Let's dive into it. So right now I'm in my Meta Business Manager. Now the account I'm currently working on is my personal account for our agency. And since we are a B2B company, it's currently set up for leads, but I want you to completely ignore that. I'm going to set up new campaigns that's optimized as if we're working for a e-commerce brand. This is what we do for our clients. This is the Meta Business Manager. From a high level, what you have here is each side, you have campaigns, ad sets, and ads. Okay, campaigns is generally, we recommend setting up campaigns, and I'll show you our campaign structure. For an e-commerce brand, usually we go about having a testing campaign and a scaling campaign. If you want to break down campaigns by specific offers, you can as well. Let's just say we're focusing on one product or offer. Let's keep it super simple right now. So the campaigns, what I would do is I would create a new campaign, and then we have ad sets. This is where we can test audience testing, interest targeting. I'll talk more about that as we go through this. And then ads, this is where we actually see all the creatives and the copy and all that good stuff. Obviously, this is all set up with my current ads, but I'm gonna set up fresh new campaigns for you to understand. So just ignore all this stuff. Okay, let's just focus on this new campaign. So let me discard these drafts and let's start nice and fresh. Awesome. So what I'm gonna do first, I'm gonna create a campaign. Now, what we recommend is keep this auction, choose a campaign objective. So because you're an e-commerce brand, you are optimizing for purchases. You want people to purchase on your site. Now, a few things before this, what you want to have set up, and maybe I'll create another video about this. There's plenty out there as well. It's just super boring, which is setting up your tracking. So in Meta, in order to track all events properly, you want to have your pixel data set is what they call it. That's basically that code that gets placed on your Shopify site that tracks all your events. The other layer of conversion tracking is Conversions API. I highly recommend every Shopify brand to set up Conversions API. If you don't, the tracking is just going to be out of whack. We noticed that we've come onto brands and they were just using the data set, and one simple change to Conversions API just made everything much more accurate. So make sure Conversions API is set up. I'll probably release another training on Conversions API here soon. So make sure to subscribe to see that video. I'll probably release that in the next few weeks. So just to start, like I said, we want to choose a campaign objective. One mistake I see Shopify brands, e-commerce brands make is they do traffic awareness. So for traffic, it's like link clicks, landing page views, Instagram profile visits. This is a mistake a lot of beginner brands make, is they think that they need to do this. And the reason why is because when we set up campaigns and we launch our ads, we go into a phase called the learning phase. Now the learning phase, especially if you're a new brand with no data flowing through your pixels and haven't tracked this before, Meta basically has to get 50 events to get out of the learning phase. Typically can be sooner or later, but usually it's around 50 events to get it tracked, which means that if you're a small brand and you don't track like 50 purchase events, within a week or two, it might go to learning limited. I encourage you, even if it goes to learning limited, to still always select sales. Mistake number one that brands make is they think, oh, let's do traffic to start. Let's warm up the pixel. It's just a complete waste of money. Don't do that. Basically, if you get traffic, you're optimizing for people. Like Facebook knows all its users. Facebook is just a big brain, AI powered brain that knows its users and knows what they're going to do. So if you select traffic, what they typically do is you'll just start to get garbage traffic to your site. And traffic, I look at traffic as there's high quality traffic and there's low quality traffic. When we do traffic campaigns, it's just low quality traffic. They're low intent. They just serve your ads to people that they know will click through. So your click-through rate might be nice and high, but it's not really good because it's not high quality traffic. When we select sales, we're optimizing for people that are ready to buy. It's a higher quality audience. That means that, yeah, click-through rate might be insane for traffic if you ran these campaigns before, but that's not a good indicator because we really want to be optimizing for sales. So always start with sales. Keep this as such, we do sales. Okay, now I'm creating my campaign. Now Meta, throughout the whole process, as of recording this video in January 2025, they're going to want you to do all the Advantage Plus shopping stuff, which is basically their AI powered, like they'll do all of it for you. I recommend, because you want to have control over the process, at least at the start, to keep it just manual for now. So we always set up our campaigns in a manual so we can just have basically touch certain things. Sometimes we'll turn on like Advantage Plus, some targeting things, but to keep it simple, I would recommend starting a manual sales campaign. So we're gonna start a manual sales campaign here. Basically the dashboard that you'll start to work in for your campaigns. I'll talk about some naming conventions and things that we use within the agency just so you have an idea of how to keep everything organized. Because basically what we have right here, this is our testing campaign. So what I'd recommend calling it is like just testing. And then you can even say like if it's a certain offer that you're testing for. So we work a lot with supplement brands. So I'll just say we're testing for pre-workout, right? I just keep the campaign name nice and easy, testing pre-workout offer right up at the top. Now you can ignore this stuff, special ad categories that has to do with like elections and politics and stuff like that. The categories here, I would ignore all this, right? This is for specific things. You're not within these special categories if you're selling products online, so ignore that. Okay, the next thing here is you can use a catalog, Advantage Plus catalog ads. Whenever you see Advantage Plus, this is what, with this little star here, this is their AI powered stuff. I typically toggle this off. You can have it on in certain scenarios, but to keep it simple, let's just ignore this. Let's keep that off for now. I'm also going to not use Advantage Campaign Plus budget. So we're going to keep this off and we're going to basically test on the ad set level. So when you do Advantage Campaign budget, we might want to implement this for our scaling campaign, which I'll talk about here after, but this is the main testing campaign. So what we like to typically do is we like to keep this off. So we actually set the ad budget, the budget on the ad set level. So there's two terminologies that advertisers use when they go about setting campaigns. You have CBO, which is campaign budget optimization, or ABO, which is ad set budget. So we like to use ad set budget because we can basically do certain tests, maybe give them each certain, because we're trying to, at the beginning, we're trying to figure out winning ads. On the ad set level, you can do like $20 a day. You can split it between the ad sets. Let's just say $100 to the CBO. Basically, it would just take that money and then like the best ad set would basically get all the spend, which we sometimes do when it comes to scaling just to make it easy on our part once we know that we have winning ads. But when we're just starting fresh, we don't really know what our winning ads are. We want to first figure that out. So with our testing campaign, we typically do turn this off. A/B test, you can keep this off. Reporting, that's fine. This is a good example here with reporting. So when you set up conversions API and all that good stuff, you can basically figure out who your engaged audience is, who existing customers are. Again, that's another video, but we'll keep that just checked. That should be right then there. So let's move on to the ad set level. Awesome. So there's a few things here that Meta will want you to do. Website and shop. So basically you have on Facebook, you have your Facebook shop where you can upload all your products onto Facebook. It's almost like TikTok shop where basically all the products are fed to the Facebook shop like interface. What I recommend is, since we want to drive a lot of our sales to our site, just keep it on website for now. We have seen in some unique situations that the shop just converts higher. So you can certainly test this, but I personally recommend, again, with advertising, we're trying to keep like least amount of variables in the mix to start. Just to start, we probably want to start with just website. So we're driving all traffic to the website. When it's website and shop, you'll click on your ad and sometimes it'll go to the Facebook shop and sometimes it'll go to the website. I want to drive all my traffic to the website, so let's keep website selected here. For ad set name, I like to do test, so 01, and then I'm going to say like what we're testing here. So if I'm testing like interest stack, or if I'm trying to figure out what audience I want to focus on, I would do like the interest as well as like the ads. So for this, let's just say I'm going to do broad, and I'm going to do, maybe I can name the pre-workout, let's say 1. In naming convention, what we typically do, I can pull this up for you here in a second. Let me actually pull up my paid ads hub. So I have another training going over this paid ads hub. So I'm going to show you mine personally that I use. So I've done a training on this before. Check out that YouTube video. I'll drop it down in the description about how to set up your creative tests and how to go about, like, this is more on the creative workshop side, but I want to show you this for the naming convention. So the way that we go about naming conventions within our agency, again, the whole point of naming conventions, there's many people have different ways of doing it, but I think ours is super easy to use, so I recommend doing this, is that we have basically, we have, as you can see, TVG_1 and then TVG_1A. We usually do the brand, like we have like a 3-letter brand identification for all creatives because we work with a bunch of brands. Obviously, if you're just running this for your own company, you don't really have to worry too much about like the brand name here, but you certainly can make it easy. Or if you want to make a code name for like your offer, just so you know exactly exactly, which one that is. So the one, what that describes in our naming convention, that typically describes like the hypothesis or the angle. We call it hypothesis, which is like, as advertisers, like what's the main message? Like what's our main hypothesis here? And then we create that as an angle, has basically we're basically communicating the same thing, but the variation is the hook on it. So the hook is the first 3 seconds of your ad. So for example, we have 1A, 1B, 1C, 1D, 1E, 1F, 1G. What these tell me is that they all basically have the same exact body of the video. So for a video, they'll probably have the same exact body, but the difference here is the hook. So all these, maybe I'm saying a certain thing at the beginning of this video, right? The hook's different. So I'd recommend when you set up your ads, you basically want each testing campaign, you want to start with just testing hooks. See what hooks are resonating with your audience. As you can see up here, if I'm testing for just hooks, which I'd recommend testing, is at a minimum having $20 to $30 for each ad set here. So the way that you calculate your budget or how much you can test, right, is you take what your total daily budget is, multiply that by 30 days, figure out, okay, I have $5,000 to invest towards Facebook ads. Okay, then you divide that up and then you split up your ad spend based upon the ad set and how many tests you want to do. So let's just say for this example, I have $100 a day to spend. So maybe I'd create either 3 $30 ad sets or maybe even 5 $20 ad sets. So that's just how we go about it. And then the one here is telling me that this is my one angle, my one hypothesis here. So I'll keep that here. Again, this is all to keep it super organized, because most people, I'm getting super nerdy with this stuff and going into the terminology because we want to make data-driven decisions and we don't want to just like have a messy ad account here. So that's how we go about naming conventions there. Okay, maximize number of conversions. We want to keep that as there. We want to select the data ad set here. So this is the one I have set up and we want to optimize. I probably don't have, okay, I do have purchase set up for this. Like I said, it's going to tell me this because I'm not running for TVG. I'm not running purchase ads. I don't have an e-commerce brand. I have an agency. So usually I'm optimizing for ads, but for you, you always want to keep the conversion event purchase. Do not do add to cart. Another mistake, just like traffic. If you optimize for add to cart, you're going to get a lot of low quality traffic that just adds to cart, but doesn't actually buy. Keep everything the objective we want to achieve in the ad account. So purchase here. You can ignore this cost per result for right now. Dynamic creative. You can, I would actually not, I wouldn't do this. So again, another kind of AI automatic thing. Keep this off for now. Again, keeping control of this. Okay, daily budget, let's just keep it as 20. Like I said, each ad set, if you create 5 ad sets here, that would just tell us like, okay, 5 times 20. Okay, we're going to be spending $100 a day, but let's just keep it 20 for this example. Okay, start date, just reset that to whatever start date is. Again, like today. I wouldn't recommend doing an end date. Keep these ongoing, jump into your ad account, shut things off as you need to. We typically don't do an end date here. All right, so audience controls here. So there's a few things and few schools of thought when it comes to audience testing. So like I said, the campaign is pretty broad. The ad set will let us do audience testing here, and the ad will let us test the actual ad creative. So for Advantage Plus audience, you certainly can test it. What I'd recommend to start is switching to an original audience, right? So you can use original audience is basically the traditional way of targeting, and you can basically select certain interests here. We do keep things pretty broad here, typically in the starting phase, especially for an e-commerce brand. We like to think that Meta can find our customers better than we can. If you look at old trainings, from 2020, 2021, there was a lot of like actual audience testing where you'd search like, basically you go down to the interest here. You can search like bodybuilding and certain things here. What I'd recommend to start is keeping it broad, either keeping it manual audience here and just keeping it completely open. Or if you definitely know that like your customers are definitely not male, they're definitely female, I would maybe do a gender test if you clearly know that, if your products are obviously like not geared towards a certain gender, and then just keep this super broad. So what I like to do for right now is I'd keep this broad because the main variable I want to test is the ad side. What you can do is once you have your ad test done, then you can say, okay, I have my winning ads. I want to test the ad set level. I want to test audiences. And then you can start to duplicate the test and then say the next testing variable is basically maybe custom audience, or you want to test Advantage Plus. You can go back to use Advantage Plus here. For just today, let's keep audience controls as the original. So basically for this example, we'll use the original audience options. It's going to tell you, hey, you can get 33% lower, but let's just use original audience here. So there we go. We have original audience placements. I would recommend, You can do manual placements here. I would keep this actually Advantage Plus placements. I'd recommend that for now. Manual placements can get, this is basically where you literally select where you want your ads to be fed. Again, these are all just variables here. So this is a good example of where I'd keep maybe AI, the Advantage Plus stuff on right now. Just again, it's another variable in the mix. And this typically, we see this perform quite fine when it comes down to it. Manual placements, if you were like very specific about like, yeah, I don't want anyone on like Instagram, I just wouldn't do that right now. Some people think that Facebook's dead. It's not dead. It's definitely not dead. So keep it nice and broad. Again, Advantage Plus audience right here. So there we go. Next, now we're on the ad side. So the ad name that I would do is I would basically say the naming convention that I discussed before. My company is TVG, and I'd say 1A, right? So 1A, again, going back to how we name our ads, 1 being the angle, A being the hook. So I know that. Same thing with graphic stills. As you can see, I should have some graphics here. Yeah, these graphics basically all tell the same story. There's little variations of it. Let's see if I can get that to kind of show a little preview here. As you can see, there's like the same sort of angle here. So same like image here. They're just different variations. So this angle is called 4, and then I have A because I basically swap out the headline on the graphic. So again, for graphics, if you're doing graphics, you want to test the headline on the graphic, but it's like the same exact thing pretty much, but you're just testing that one variable. It's the same thing as videos. You just do 4A, 4B, 4C. Okay. Cool. So we're now on here. So I run all my ads through my personal pages here. What you would do is you would do basically your company pages, right? So you would have your brand Instagram account. And then for here, we want to do manual upload. So we want to manually upload ads, single image, video. I would keep it single image or video. You can do carousels, you can do collections. Flexible is kind of going back to like Meta doing their own thing. For this, again, let's just keep it single image and video. So multi-advertiser ads is like a weird thing that they have now where basically your ads can be served next to other brands that are like related, and personally I don't like that, and I don't think it's a good setup. You can basically just get spammed with ads. I'm gonna turn this off for now is what I'd recommend. I think this is kind of a waste of money because basically it'll like put your ads next to like your competitors directly and just kind of, I think you just get washed out in the noise. Again, there's different schools of thought here, but this is what we personally do. So I'm gonna show you what we do at the agency. So I'm gonna talk about setting up ad creative here in a second, but the next thing is a website URL. So obviously make sure you have the right URL you're trying to drive to. We recommend for majority of e-commerce brands that you're running ads directly. If you're advertising for a pre-workout, you do the product page for that pre-workout, and that would be the URL. So make sure you have the correct URL there. You don't need any of this because you're an e-commerce brand. So this is like you wouldn't get a call, so you don't worry about that. Let's see. This isn't an event, so you don't worry about that. Data sets, make sure this is all firing, make sure that's green. That means your data set is firing correctly. Again, that goes back to tracking. And then there we go. URL parameters. So there's some like advanced things that you can do when we, like if you're using a triple whale or some custom tracking stuff, we can set up URL parameters. Maybe that's for another video, but for today, I wouldn't worry too much about that in, to get results out of the gate here. So website URL, you put that in here. Let's talk about now the ad creative. So you have an image ad or a video ad. So if you're doing a still, a graphic, a photo, you want to do image ads. If you want to do video ad, it would obviously be the video option. So let's start first with like the video ad here. Okay, so this is like a new thing that they have. You can put in the URL, that's you're driving your products to. If you want to also have the catalog synced up, you can do that as well. I wouldn't worry too much about this. This is feeding through catalog stuff and display link things. Again, there's a lot of like Meta, like doing changes for you. So I would skip this. I would just keep moving forward through this. This is the next piece where before they didn't have it in this section, but you can certainly add it in this section. Let me just go for, I think we can skip this for now. We can edit this later. So let me just put, again, just an example. This is one of my ads, but you would do the same thing. Okay, you wouldn't trim this. Make sure you make all your edits before. I don't recommend editing within the ads manager. That's just a waste. Okay, so this one is a vertical video right here. It's basically telling me like the different placements here. So you can see like stories and reels, feed. I'd typically recommend and try to crop it to what makes the most sense. So for this, I'd keep this original. I'd keep this original as well. I'd keep this original as well. You might want to crop and select different variations. So this is a vertical, which is like a 9:16, but you can do like a 4:5, which would be more cropped, and you can even do a square. Whatever the ad, whatever the creative is, just optimize the sizing here so it looks the best. I just like keeping the full frame here, so we have that all set up. Okay, enhancements. So again, Advantage Plus. When you see Advantage Plus, it's Meta AI trying to work for you here. So you're at it. So let's see, active. Okay, so they turned them all on for me. Some people like to keep them on, others don't, because it can make things look wacky or things not look the best. I personally, you can again, there's use cases where if you feed your catalog, you can see the products down below. This is feeding through one of my clients' products, but you can have the products like below your ad. Like this stuff is so like, the lift here is so like nominal when you're just like, it's so minimal when you're just starting out. Like video filter, like hopefully you've edited your ads and they're good looking. Sometimes it makes things look a little weird. Enhanced call to action. I'm not opposed to this. Text improvements. I don't really like that. Visual touch-ups, again, we'll like wash out some colors. The only thing I might keep on is the catalog items, the enhanced CTA, but that's really up to you. Again, these are all why you're turning this off. See, they basically want to get all this feedback, but let's just keep going here. Okay, you got to be careful of this, because even when you say no, they'll be like, are you sure, and they'll keep it on. So there's some annoying things with Facebook here. So okay, I'm gonna say done here. So that's why I skipped, instead of putting all the primary text in the headlines, you notice when I was setting up the ad, it gave me the option to set that up like up front. Because we're gonna have multiple ads here, I would just skip that, and then you can do it here in the primary text, headline, and the description. So primary text is basically the body copy. The headline is the big bold headline that like is in bolded font, typically, depending on the placement here. You can see on the right hand side all the placements. If you do advanced preview, you can see what the ad will look like, and as I add text, you'll actually see what these ads look like as I go through it. So primary text, we do a 3-2-2 method. So 3 creatives, 2 primary text, 2 headlines. Again, the way that you think about it for advertising is you're trying to, at the beginning, isolate as many variables as possible. Think about it like this. If you did 5 primary text, if you did 5 headlines, and then you did the 3 creatives, basically think about how many variations are out there getting served to your audience. It's basically you multiply it. So you do 5 primary text times 5 headlines, that's 25, times the 3 creatives, that's 75 variations that are out there. That's a lot of variables to test. So we keep it simple by just doing a 2, 2, and then 3 creatives. So 2 primary text, 2 headlines, 3 creatives. Now, this won't be too tactical on copy and things like that, about like how to write high converting headlines and copy. I'm gonna use what I currently have set up for our ads. The primary text, like I said, is our body. So in our ad playbook here, I have these basically written out. So as you can see with all these ads, I have the copy that I use. I have V1, V2. So the primary text, right? Again, this is more for my offer, but you would write your primary text about your product. So you have the primary text here, add text option, as you can see. So you'd add 2, boom, copy this. There we go. So I have 2 primary text versions here. Make sure the formatting can get weird. Let's see. Okay, so make sure you just format it correctly. Sometimes things get like moved, just a little box here. So there we go. That's all formatted like how I want. So that's my primary text. Okay, another example of Meta wanna being a smartass. So they'll start to just like, it's basically like chat. As if chat, you put your primary text into ChatGPT and they create new variations. Again, if you use this, you're creating a ton more variations, a ton more variables, which I just don't recommend right now. So to make sure none of this 0, 5 selected, and then we wanna do headlines. So for headlines, same thing right here. I have my headlines already written. I have this V1 and V2. So I do this one as my headline. I'm gonna do another option as here. Okay, so as you can see, the ad is now fully set up. We have 2 primary text, we have 2 headlines, and then we have the creative on the right hand side. So this is actually considered done from the ad level. The other thing here that I forgot to mention, it popped up after we add the ad. Description you can ignore. I've seen maybe you can sometimes just add the link. This is typically like 0 lift, right? So I'm really trying to point your attention on like the main things that drive the results. You know, if you think of the 20% that drives the 80% of results, it's really like the 20% that drives the 99% of results, because there's all these little things you can get caught up in the weeds of. I would just skip description. Learn more. I typically do learn more as the call to action. I think there's also order now. You could get offer. This, again, not a lot of lift. I would just keep it learn more there. Promo codes. I'm not opposed to using this, but if you have a promo code, let's say you're doing a 20% off, you can, sometimes it automatically finds it based upon the ad and everything. This just highlights it and keeps it on. So you can certainly do this. Again, not a huge lift, but you can test that as well. Okay, so it is kind of confusing. There's a lot of variables here, but this is what I'd recommend. Skip all this. Boom, I already went over this. Okay, advanced preview. Now I want to just look and review, see what it looks like in different placements, and I'll show you what I mean. So with Instagram placements, usually like on the feed, like the headline isn't always there. Like it's mainly just a primary text but if you see down here, let's see, sometimes it takes a second to load. Why should I work with TVG instead of building this in-house or working with another agency? I get this question all the time. Here are a few things that make our team at TVG special. First, if you run a health or fitness e-commerce brand, our team works predominantly in the fitness industry. So second, our team is tight-knit, based down here in Dallas, Texas. Why should I work with TVG? The audio is blasting in my ear, so I'm gonna ignore that, but you can just review all the placements, make sure it looks all nice. Then what you would do is you go ahead and publish, okay? This is publishing means it's gonna go live, Facebook's gonna review it and approve it. But before we did that, as a reminder, this is only one creative. What we now do is we want to duplicate, and usually we have 3 to 5 creatives in each ad set. Again, you can go up to 5, anywhere above 5. Again, it's way too many variables. So usually we do like a 1 test and then 3 creatives in each test. So you can duplicate this, and what I do here, do original campaign, number of copies 1. Okay, boom. And then that says TVG 1A copy. Now what I want to do is I would do TVG 1B. Right? Again, we're testing the same angle here, but we're testing different hooks. So I do 1A, 1B, and 1C, probably a test, maybe 1D, 1E, if we want to do a few more in here. Depends on your budget, but you can do multiple creatives here. You keep everything constant, right? We didn't change anything here. The only thing we're testing, or what we try to test, is a different video. You jump down to the media, and then let's just say I have another variation here. This is actually not reflecting, this isn't actually a 1B. I'm just uploading a random video that I have here. Same sort of idea. Make sure you go through here. It actually keeps the 2 options I kept on the last time, I believe, and it might have even triggered this on. So turn off. So up to you if you want to change that, edit that. Again, totally up to you. Okay, so now we have this. I'll do one more quick duplicate. Okay, quick duplicate basically like just quickly duplicates it within it without like changing the campaign or ad set. So if you're just duplicating within the ad set, you can just do a quick duplicate here and then have 1C, right? And then I'd change out the video, and then I have my 3 variations of creative. Okay, now that I have all that, what I can then do is, let's say I have another hypothesis, I can duplicate the ad set, right? So I have now 2 ad sets. So I just duplicate the ad set level, and now I have another test, and I can do this test 2, my on broad, and I could do pre-workout 2, right? So let's say I have a different angle, different creative I want to use with different variations, then I would do that. I'd keep this all the same, duplicate $20, and you'd see that reflected here. Again, we're keeping everything constant because basically right now I'm doing creative tests. The main variable I'm testing is creatives right now. We're not testing for audiences. After you go through a broad and you want to do an audience test, and you could probably duplicate this. Let's just do another duplicate. And let's say I want to test out the Advantage Plus. I just want to see how it goes. You can do the Advantage Plus audience here and just say, okay, Advantage Plus, that's the variable I'm testing. So every single test that you create within this testing campaign is an ABO, set budget, $20, and you just test it, see how the results perform. Basically let it run for, again, depends on your budget, but usually like 3 to 5 days, maybe 7 days if it's unconclusive, and you let that run for a bit and you figure out, okay, what's my winners, what's my losers? So what you would do is based on the ad performance, you would look at like click-through rate, and I'll go through that here in a second. So let me just jump into that. I'm not going to publish this obviously, but this is what it will look like here. So this is the new one I set up, so just for you guys to understand. So pre-workout, let's say I'm doing broad 3, so I have my tests all very easy to understand, right? So I set up a campaign with 3 tests, $20 each a day. That means I'll be spending $60 a day in total for this campaign. From here, I'd let this run, and then after 3 to 5 days, I'd figure out, okay, what's working, what's not working. Okay, so let's say now we ran our testing campaign, we want to see what's working, what's not working. Then I would look at the certain results here. Now for an e-commerce brand, obviously what we want to figure out is, for here, you'd be like, oh my God, that's so expensive. I'm a B2B company, so these numbers are different for me. But the result should be purchases, right? How many purchases we got with this test. Reach, you can see impressions here. You can see the amount spent. And then up on the right-hand side, you can do a lot more columns, okay? So depending on your brand, which as an e-commerce company, you probably want to see maybe like click-through rate. Click-through rate is a big variable we want to see. Okay, so with CTR, there's some weird things here. I'd always look at CTR is generally, if you just do CTR all, it'll kind of be overinflating the click-through rate. CTR linked click-through rate is typically what we look at for actual click-through performance. For an e-commerce brand, the main KPI we're looking for click-through rate is over like a 1.5. So if you're 1 to 2, you're like, okay. If you're 2+, it's probably a winning 2, 3, 4%. That's a winning creative. That's very interesting. You want to make note of that. Sub 1 is probably not a good creative, and you probably want to kill it. When you're starting ads, you're not going to be profitable out of the gate. You can be 100%, but typically you're just going to start optimizing for click-through rate as well as purchases, and your CPA might be a little bit high. So CPA is cost per action, cost per result. As you can see, these ones are optimized for lead, ignore that. But for you, it would be like cost per purchase, cost per acquisition, which would be CPA. So really we want to get the lowest possible CPA. The other metric here that people like to talk about a lot is ROAS, but we really look at CPA a lot of the time over ROAS. ROAS tells a different story. Obviously, ROAS would be how much revenue over ad spend, which definitely tells a certain story. The reason why with tracking and everything, we just want to get our acquisition costs at a certain point. So for like a supplement brand, you usually want to be around sub $30, and we always calculate, which I've in this offering KPI sheet, which I believe I have a training on. We set up what our KPIs are, so like what our break-even CPA is. At the beginning, your CPA will probably be on the higher side, and you're just trying to figure out like, okay, what's those winners? And then over time, you're going to continue optimizing. And as Meta gets more data, as it runs for a while, like a month, 2 months, things will improve and your CPA will eventually go down. But you're basically just going to monitor your CPA, your click-through rate, and all that good stuff. Your ROAS, you'll check that out as well there. So that is essentially how we go about setting up our testing campaign. This is kind of step one, setting up the testing campaign, testing all your ads to see how they perform. And then eventually, once you have basically you've identified some winners, you can keep them running within the testing campaign for a bit, but you'd eventually over time, once you have clear winners, you can set up a scaling campaign, which would be a whole new campaign structure. And the only difference, I'll create one really quick right here. So same sort of idea, sales, I would do manual sales campaign, and then you can set up a CBO. So instead of using Advantage Campaign, you would use Advantage Campaign budget instead of the ad. Remember, we toggled this off in the testing because we want to control each ad set. And here we can keep this on, which basically would be like all the spend, you'd set your spend if you want to be at $100 a day. It makes it easy when you start to scale up. So you basically would duplicate all winning ads into the scaling campaign, even ad sets as well, duplicate those into here, and then just start to scale. And then you control the budget on the campaign side. And then Facebook will put your ad spend kind of where it needs to be within the ad sets. The winning ads will get the spend that they need. So this is the scaling campaign. I set that up. Once I have my winners, I put the ads in here. And this campaign, the whole goal is like all ads that are within KPI, you move them into here and start to scale those up. Now, we don't use a scaling campaign until we definitely have consistency with CPAs. We definitely understand what our winning ads are, and then we can start to scale there. So hopefully that gives you a good idea here. And then for nomenclature, I would just maybe say like scaling, pre-workout. Okay, and I'd name it here. So then basically it's super easy when it comes down to like seeing the data here. Okay, we have our testing campaign. I set up tests here, and then we move them into scaling campaign. Eventually over time, not at the beginning, because as a startup brand, if you're starting on ads, a lot of your spend is going to be in the testing. But once we scale up that budget, usually we use 20 to 30% of our budget for testing, and then majority of the budget will go to scaling once we're ready to scale up. So over time, as things progress, you start to get, okay, I found all my winners in my testing. I move them into my scaling. That's the CBO. As you can see here, we're on the campaign tab here. You can just edit the budget on the campaign level. If you go on the ad set level, as you can see here on the testing, you can't, it's saying using ad set budget. So that's where we toggle the budgets here. And sometimes we do like scale up if clearly identified that like, okay, that angle like sucked, we'll shut that off. And we can even scale a little bit within the testing just to like give it more juice, give it more data, and then move it into the scaling campaign. It all depends on your budget. You know, if you're spending $1,000 a day, $10,000 a day, you can run these tests a lot easier and faster. But just an example of like startup brand or what we look at here, you know, $20 a day test there. Okay, so hopefully this has given you guys a solid overview of Facebook ads, how to set it up, kind of our recommendations, and it's easy to get caught up in all the confusing meta terminology in there. But hopefully this gives you a good idea of how to set up a campaign, start your testing campaigns, let those test for a week, then you can start moving into the scaling campaign, which I might have another training, more complex training about higher budgets, how to manage a scaling campaign, how to scale up effectively. But this is purely a startup setup video for an e-commerce brand that's probably doing sub 100K a month if you're getting into ads and starting to run these on your own. And then really what I just recommend is keeping a log like that paid ads sheet. Like I said, we use this paid ads hub. It keeps us accountable. And you can see here, I even say like, is the campaign active? Is it a winner? Is it still testing? So we track all that here. So over time, as you get losers, you want to kill those. If they're clearly not a winner, you know, if they're sub 1% click-through rate, if you're not getting purchases, you want to kill those and shut those ads off in the ad account, and then you just track that. And this is our way of tracking things for our clients. People have different ways of tracking things. I recommend just documenting everything that you're doing, just so things get complex and annoying. So feel free to use this, and I'll leave a link as well to a template to use the paid ads hub that we use for our agency, so you guys can use that. So hopefully you guys got some value out of this video. If you would like to book a call with me, if you're a brand that's looking to scale up past 100K, 300K, a million a month, we work with brands, 7, 8-figure brands, to help them scale on paid ads as well as email marketing. So feel free to book a call down below, but feel free to just subscribe, like this video, and stay in touch. We'll have more trainings just like this coming down the pipeline. So I hope you have a fantastic day, and I'll talk to you soon.